You know, there's a lot of myths in the entertainment world, a lot of misconceptions, and one of them is that talent is everything, and talent isn't everything. I'm probably a prime example in that I'm probably not the best singer in the world. There's not a million people queuing up to buy any of my recordings. Our choreographer, Tracy Iliff, would be very happy to confirm that I am not the best dancer in the world. I like to think I'm an average comedian, but at some point somebody needs to give you that lucky break. And my lucky break actually came in the form of a phone call that I wasn't involved in. And Marie was back from cruises for taking a short break, and we were both doing solo gigs. And I remember this Saturday night we'd got back from a gig, we were having some food, and Marie had to take a phone call. And it was from a phone call from a guy who was a director of the production company that Marie had already worked for in the cruise ship world. And he was basically saying that the female singer on one of the ships that the production shows were on had been sacked. And he was kind of pleading with her, would she go out straight away and replace this female singer who'd been sacked. And the outcome of all that was basically Marie said to him, look, tell you what, let's do a deal here. I'll go out and cover the cruise ship contract if you'll give Colin a private audition. To which the answer was yes. And I went down to Maida Vale, I believe it was, in London, to do this private audition. Believe it or not, I actually wasn't frightened at all. And the reason I wasn't frightened and nervous was I'd never done an audition before, so I didn't know what to expect. But did the audition. Outcome was we did get to work on cruise ships for about 5 years together. So talent, yes, I had to get through the audition, but talent isn't everything. You do need that one little break to set you on your way. And I remember when I did the audition, Marie had persuaded me to do the audition song I should do would be a song called This Is the Moment from Jekyll and Hyde. And I remember getting on the ship, and in the first week, obviously I wasn't in the show, I was rehearsing, and so I would be actually watching the show. There was a guy called Michael on the ship, and purely by chance, one of the shows I did see was the show that involved him singing This Is the Moment, and he blew my mind. There was a guy with so much talent. I almost hated him for it, because the guy could dance, he's a good looking guy and a voice to die for, but never made the very heights, if you like, or the fame and the fortune of the entertainment industry. Obviously some people are more naturally talented and do make it because of their talent. For example, Jade Thirlwall from Little Mix. I remember many years ago I was invited to judge a talent competition, and Jade was one of the participants in that talent competition, and she was absolutely outstanding. And I remember at the end of it, she did win the competition she was in. I gave her my card and said, look, when you're 18-year-old, please give me a ring, because she's just the type of person and talent that you do want in one of your shows. And I also remember going on the ship, the rehearsal videos that we had to learn the dance routines from, learn the songs, etc. And one of the performers on the rehearsal videos was Jane MacDonald, and she was okay. Some of the vocals were a little bit suspect, but she got her break because some person in a TV production company somewhere decided that they were going to film this series on TV and that Jane was going to be the star of it. And as we now know, Jane is a household name, and down to that one bit of luck, because in the world of entertainment, you never know what's going to be around the corner. Our first tour of India, actually, that was a little stroke of luck, because we were led to believe when this guy in India, Melbourne, sent us an email and we didn't know whether it was a hoax or, but basically asking us if we could send a Broadway show out there in the space of 5 weeks. And the answer was very easy, yes. We had a load of Broadway material already rehearsed. And the outcome was, we found out later that he had already booked another show of the same description, and the show in the UK had decided to cancel with 5 weeks to go. They did, for some reason, they didn't want to do the contract. So again, we had that little stroke of luck. We thought it was talent because he'd been recommended to us, or he'd seen one of our videos, but in fact it wasn't. Somebody else cancelled. We got the email to say, would you come and do it? And again, that led us to 3 contracts out in India. I also remember coming back from India, and one of my friends rang me after our first tour out there saying, oh, I bet it was absolutely fantastic, and it was all these wonderful things. And that's another myth about the entertainment industry, that people think it is a world of glamour, everything about it is great, but I'm sure that they do realise that behind the scenes it's not as easy and as glamorous as it looks. I remember after our very first show in India, the Indian people are great because after a show they want to feed you, they want to buy you drinks, and they want to party with you. And we got back to the hotel around about 1 o'clock in the morning to be told that at 3 o'clock in the morning we needed to be back in the foyer and get ready to go to the airport to fly out to another state in India to do the next show. So it isn't all it seems. And actually it was on another tour that we had an incident of Delhi belly. One of our female singers, Jenny, decided to eat the wrong thing, and just for clarity, this Delhi belly was coming up, it wasn't going down. And 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we've got a show that night. It was actually in a place called Vizag, or Visakhapatnam, I think is its proper name, but in Vizag. And we were the first international show to go to that particular state, and that was a little bit of an honour. And poor Jenny had Delhi belly about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and of course this industry, you can't just phone in sick and say I can't come to work today. And I remember on the show itself we had buckets side of stage, little Jenny buckets, just in case worst came to the worst. And thankfully, the true pro that she is, she actually got through it without any incidents, shall we say. We also went to a place called Hyderabad, and I remember that we were told that we had to do TV interviews when we got there. And of course, we all felt like stars, and it was really, really exciting. And in the next breath, we were also told that there was protests happening because they'd found out that in the show we actually did the can, and that was considered offensive, and still is by some people, because ladies used to show their bloomers in the can. So it was a very mixed bag in Hyderabad, with TV cameras on one side and then protesters on the other. Achieving success in this business is very rarely overnight. Marie and I tried it. We both did the TV, the opportunity knocks of this world. Actually, Marie did do opportunity knocks with Huey Green, those who have a very good memory. And she had a lot more success than I did. She actually won her particular thing, and that kind of led to a lot of success in the West End. And she's the one that's worked with famous names like Cliff Richard, Shirley Bassey. On the other hand, I did a program called Sky Star Search, which happened when Sky TV first appeared on the scene, and I came a miserable 2nd out of 8, but received no reward whatsoever. And it isn't overnight success. I do remember one of our dancers, Laura, we'll call her Laura because her name's Laura, and she came to us to audition many years ago, was pre-lockdown, and she did her audition. She didn't get chosen for the job that we had at the time. And I always remember I got an email from her agent. Basically, the agent was asking for feedback on Laura's audition. Now, as a show producer, a little bit of a pain, because I know it's the right thing for the dancer to do, to see if they can improve, what they could do better. For me, it's just more work. I've got to then reply to the email. But what it did do was just registered her name a little bit in the back of my mind. And she didn't get the job. And next time we did an audition, she appeared again. And I remember, because normally at the beginning of an audition, I would welcome the girls, have a chat with them. And one question I always used to ask was, has anybody travelled a great distance to get here? And to which several hands went up. There was about 100 and odd female dancers turned up for the audition. And a few hands went up, and one of them I recognised by the CV was Laura, who had again travelled from London. And that says a kind of a great deal, in the fact that she'd travelled from London to Leeds. I'm sure it was Leeds we did this particular audition. And she travelled again, and once again didn't get the job. And this happened on the third occasion. And on the fourth occasion, we had Laura visit again, so her fourth audition, and eventually she did get the job that she'd wanted. And it was a little bit ironic, because this was just pre-lockdown, and what happened was we went into rehearsals for our spring tour, and we were kind of taking the mickey a little bit out of the whole COVID thing, and wash your hands while you sing happy birthday to you and all that. And we were in Dudley Town Hall for our first show of the tour, and we travelled down the night before to stay over in a hotel to do the show next day. And as we got to Dudley about 5 o'clock the night before, that was the day that Boris Johnson announced that theatres were no longer a place where people could go. And so the whole tour was just cancelled on the spot. So poor Laura had done 4 auditions, got to rehearse the show, and never got to perform it. The good news to the end of that story is that Laura did do that show 2 years later, when we came out of lockdown.